Just makes me so irritated that somebody is typing me as a 6, either out of spite, out of not knowing enneagram enough, stereotyping my PTSD, whatever. Me as a 6 is just a horrible typing. Okay, first of all, what head type will care about how they are viewed by others so much? No head type will. Unless, like, it has to do with a system, like a specific system that they are attached to. Whereas I'm not really attached to any system. I have a special interest in Enneagram, but I wouldn't say I'm attached to it or build my life around it like a 6 would. They build their inner committee around it to have certainty of the world. That does not fit my own self. You know, that's the only reason why a 6 would care, about that, but it wouldn't have to do with their worth and feeling worthless and invalidated. It would have to do with making them feel anxious. All my feelings have to do with invalidation, being unseen, being unheard. Like I already explained earlier, a 6 under stress, they become very active and competitive. 3 is a competency assertive type. It directly projects its image into the world. So when a 6 is stressed out, to compete with others for security reasons to attain their resources, because all head types are fundamentally trying to accrue resources to feel secure. They begin competing with other people, or they become more productive to try to accomplish, to be able to fulfill more resources that can make them feel more secure. Or they, out of the low side of 9, can also become dissociative and try to intentionally numb their pain and kind of just detach from it. So they might get lost in an activity or narcotize themselves with drugs, alcohol. There's different ways. A 6 is a very egalitarian type. They are not self-focused, which is what others complain about in me. I'm autistic as well, but the reason why people complain about it more in me rather than some other individuals who are autistic is because of my 4-ness, my self-focus, because I am a 4, I fixate even more on my own inner world and my own emotions. And I communicate in an intrapersonal way rather than interpersonal. And a 6 is interpersonally focused as an attachment superego type, especially as a social dom. They are tribalistic. They want their people and they want to relate to those people, whereas I want to retain separation in myself, even from other individuals on the autism spectrum. People have no clue what an Enneagram 6 is. There's just a stereotype that anybody who's reactive or whatever is a 6, and that's not true. 6 is a shit typing for my own self. A 7 core would be better for me than a 6. I can even have 7 in my tri-type and some models of Enneagram. I honestly believe I am an Icazo 479. I have the schizotypal focuses of the fantasy focus of 7 in his system. Even, not wanting to grow up and lose my childhood, serving a 4 core, need of for my own worth, so I don't have a gaping hole in my heart and envy other children to the point I don't even want my own children. That could be a 7 fix fueling a 4 core. A 6 core would not have that envy of that, and they would not mind having their own child. 6 is a sacrificial type. It would attach onto the child that they would have and see their own needs being met through the child, and that they identify with that child because they see the child as in relation to them, they're related, whereas a 4 retains separation, and that would be the 4 core in my own self. I don't want a child. I don't want to have to sacrifice my needs and be worthless when I never was cared about by anyone else. It feels torturous to my own self to have that. And I don't want to have a child. I don't want to have a child because I don't want to have to traumatize that child with me having that, emotional rift with that. Of course, if I ever healed one day from childhood trauma, that might lessen my ego fixation of 4. But that is not a 6 core motivation. Everything that sets off my PTSD has to do with me being invalidated, has to do with how I am viewed, has to do with others not acknowledging how I see my own self, not valuing my own self, not caring about me. Me even liking FS92, even though, like he initially, like, was not, somebody who I really like thought was like going to be good for my own self, and that, like he was like pushing himself on me. The reason why I don't mind that anymore is because it just, you know, I feel like he actually genuinely cares about me. And I haven't really felt that way with many people in my life. And I also do care about him as well. I, feel bad for his own trauma and his emotional pain. And I care about how he feels. But, um, so it's developed into a relationship like that, not yet a romantic one, but, uh, you know, I do care about him. I do care about how he's doing and how he feels. But, like, even like why, like, I didn't mind him controlling me was because it makes me feel valued and cared about. I have fantasies over people literally controlling my body to prove that they care to my own self and value me. I have medical fantasies where I'm being operated on to make me feel valued, seen, and cared for. That's not a head type.